Well, hello and welcome to Lab Exchange. And our webinar topic today is Earth Day Every Day. My name is Jenny Frank, and I am the head of educator programming and engagement at Lab Exchange, Harvard University. If you would like at any time to ask questions, or if you have a comment that you would like answered, please feel free to use the chat, and I will be sure to monitor it to make sure that I'm answering your questions for you today. So at Lab Exchange, we believe that everyone needs science, and science needs everyone. To realize this vision, we also recognize the essential role of educators. You engage, educate, and empower our next generation of citizens who will have a passion for science and recognize their greater potential as contributors to solving the world's greatest challenges. Today, I want to introduce you to Lab Exchange, our extensive library of relevant quality science content, and our flexible approach to content customization, which of course will save you time and help you to realize your learners' potential and inspire them to be those future change makers. And hopefully, they'll also agree that Earth Day should be every day. In our session today, we are going to have a content tour of Lab Exchange with our extensive collection of Earth Day and ecological resources. Our session objectives include, obviously, a guided tour of Lab Exchange and our vast library of high-quality scientific content. You are also going to be able to discover how Lab Exchange can help you to engage your students and deepen their understanding, and hopefully to learn how to customize our learning content here at Lab Exchange. My hope today is that you will walk away with a better understanding of the tools and features of Lab Exchange, as well as some great resources in your pocket to implement Earth Day every day, and other topics, obviously, around ecology and climate change. So at Lab Exchange, we believe that everyone should have equitable access to science resources, no matter what the geographic location, affiliation with educational institutions, or the purpose for learning. And I think that this is an important topic to have as part of the intro to our webinar today, because you have to understand that our vision for science education is that it should always be free. Today, I'm going to ask you to sign up for an educator account so I can share with you some private content that I've created, but at no time will Lab Exchange ever ask for any fees or for services rendered upfront. It is part of our vision, again, that everyone should have equitable access. We also take very big pride in the fact that we have quality and credible resources represented on our platform. And finally, we believe in the power of collaboration and communication, especially when it comes to connecting learners with teachers, teachers with scientists, and global educators all around the world. As the world's largest science classroom, we truly believe that everyone needs science, and science needs everyone. So how to sign up for a free educator account? It's actually pretty simple. You just need to go to labexchange.org, and I will copy this link so that I can send you directly there. It's in our chat. Once you go there, you will see in the upper right-hand corner is a small icon or button that says sign up. It's going to ask you to confirm your age. For us, we have two types of accounts. They're both free. One is a learner account, and you must be older than 13 years of age. And for an educator account, you must be at least 18 years of age. Educator accounts allow you to create and customize content. They allow you to create pathways, which are our lesson plans, and they also allow you the opportunity to create classes. So it's a very thoughtful system and platform that it is included with the educator account. So again, once you confirm your age, you're going to click next and again on the Get Started button. Now you'll notice that you will be redirected to edX.org. edX.org gives you the opportunity to have a single sign up. And so that way you can use your Facebook or perhaps a Google account so that you are already registering through that account. You don't have to remember another username and password. If not, then you can just simply click on the Register tab. It's the tab closest to the left. Fill in the information, name and email, and pretty much that's all there is to it. It will ask you to select a role. Today, you're going to select I am an educator. And then the last step is to verify your account using that email. So you'll go to the email address or your email inbox. You'll look for a LabXchange email, which should come almost immediately, and click on the activation link. Once you are signed in, you'll notice a very different appearance to LabXchange, which will now include a dashboard and community links in the upper right-hand corner. So the first part of our experience today is to talk about the LabXchange guided tour. But as you know, I'm always thinking, or maybe you don't know actually, is that I'm always thinking in my mind, what can I do to make life easier for educators? I too am an educator, middle and high school level biology teacher. And so often I found that there were so many challenges, especially around my time management. It feels as though I am doing less of the things that I love to do, which is teaching and making an impact on my learners, and doing more of the paperwork and administrative tasks. And so I'm always looking for ways to save time and to alleviate some of those day-to-day challenges. Now, I think LabXchange is a perfect fit for that. And that's because we've created LabXchange to be a one-stop shop. So instead of visiting and searching through multiple websites and Google searches, where you might not always find quality and credible resources, we've compiled an entire library of over 20,000 science resources that have been backed by the Harvard name. We do this by creating our own content. We've got an incredible team of content creators and subject matter experts, but we also do this by collaborating with high quality content collaborators. So today I wanted to share with you a few of those content collaborators. So what I'm going to do throughout this journey today is I'm going to click on a link and I will post it in the chat so that if you want to follow along, click along, maybe get lost in some of the content, please feel free and we can have that shared experience together. So what I've just included in our chat box is our LabXchange collaborator page. As you can see here, our sponsor is Amgen Foundation, and they are committed to science education and the same ideas of making science accessible to everyone as a right around the world. We are strategic allies with UNESCO. And here, as you can see, I'm beginning to scroll through just our content collaboration page. These are all providers who we are continuously updating, who provide us with some of our incredible content on our library. And as I go through here, I'm sure that every educator will see some big names, obviously Harvard, since we're Harvard funded, but you might also see HHMI Biointeractives. Simulations are a big deal in science education. I love this one, Letters to a Pre-Scientist. Such a great idea. Minute Earth, PhET, These are just a few of our content collaborators. And today I want to show you a particular content collaborator who happens to have some really incredible content, perfect for Earth Day themed teaching and learning. They have a variety of types of science content, which includes documents, videos, and case studies. And this is the California Academy of Sciences. So at the collaborator page, you can actually access that collaborator's content by clicking on their card. It brings you to their very own dashboard. So as you can see, I'm here at California Academy of Sciences, and they have already uploaded 112 content pieces to our library. As you go through, you can see that there are excellent quality teaching guides, which are lesson plans and videos on some great topics around Earth Day and climate change. Preventing plastic pollution, that is a great teaching guide and lesson. And as you can scroll through, you can go through and browse all of the content provided by this particular content provider. So again, that is a pretty incredible thing. And here are some great resources that I know that anyone could use in their classroom for Earth Day themed lessons. So the next part that I want to share with you is a little bit more of this 20,000 plus library that I keep on talking to you about. But before we get started on that, I do want to talk to you about the importance of setting some foundational knowledge so that when you do have conversations with learners about really complicated and difficult conversations and dialogues around things like climate change, pollution, and extinction, that students have a really sound understanding of ecology and ecosystems. So for me, that's this list right here. I clearly want my learners to be able to speak to and understand concepts around biotic and abiotic factors, for instance, perhaps the flow of energy and matter through systems. A perfect example, obviously, food chains and food webs. I want my students to understand ecosystem cycles, the water cycle, the carbon cycle, the oxygen cycle. All of those are important when you start to delve into complicated topics like pollution and coming up with innovative ways and to solve those challenges. You might also want to talk a little bit about biodiversity, biomes, and the impact, or what is climate. If we're going to teach about climate change, it's essential that learners have a good foundational understanding about what climate is. And lastly, the scale of ecology. We can definitely talk about ecosystems from an organism level, but we can also talk about it from population dynamics and the interaction between species. A perfect example of something I used to teach all the time in my classroom would be keystone species. And these are all examples of things that we should ensure that before we engage in any conversations with our students about innovative, challenge-based thinking, then we have to make sure that they have those foundations in place. So what I've done, because this is to save time and to help you and to give you resources that you can use tomorrow in your classroom, is I've created a private teaching guide. Now, remember that LabXchange Educator account? You're going to need it in order to access this guide. And don't worry, if you haven't set one up yet, I will send a follow-up email, include the link to this particular teaching guide. But here is what I've done for you. I have curated a custom list of all of the foundational content sources that we have to get you started with setting that foundational knowledge and skills with your learners. So it's pretty simple. I'm just going to click back one time and do that again because I kind of flipped through there quite quick. All right, so here we go. So here is a teaching guide, and a teaching guide has different kinds of levels. You could call them like chapters. And in there, in order to access it, all you have to do is click Start the Teaching Guide. And here you can see that now you have a different level of components that are part of this teaching guide, and you can click through them very simply here with the interactive links, or you can go through and scroll down through the table of contents and actually go through all the contents. This is one of the creation tools that I'm going to talk a little bit about later on. It's called a teaching guide, and it's a great way to set up a lesson plan. So first, you can see here that we have, what do learners need to know? So for each one of these topics and concepts, I've given you some bullet points, some objectives, some concepts that we want our learners to be able to know and understand as a part of this topic. So here you can see that we have abiotic factors and biotic factors, obviously an important part to understand, especially if we're thinking about how they are interacting and how different changes to one can impact the other. And then the next piece are some resources to deepen that understanding. And as you can see here, some are private resources. This is a video. And some are public resources. And this is a video as well. Again, we've got Free School as a contributor. We've got Khan Academy. As you go through all of these resources that I've curated for you, you'll be very impressed to see all of the different kinds of collaborators that make up our 20,000+ library resource. So again, flow of energy, what do learners need to know? They need to know that ecosystems are composed of biotic and abiotic things, and that energy flows through that system, through producers, consumers, decomposers, and that nutrients are also cycled through that system as energy and matter. And again, here are some more resources to help deepen understanding with students. In this case, we've included even a text with a model that students can investigate to learn more about that cycle. I'm going to scroll down just a little tiny bit more. And as we get into more complex concepts like biodiversity, biomes, and climate, not only are we including some major concepts and objectives for student learners, and we're also including those resources to deepen learning, but now we're also starting to get into resources that will help to engage learners. Resources like interactives, and simulations. And these are just a few. This amazing story of the peppered moth, as a matter of fact, that was a highlight in a recent learning pathway that I did on evolution. And I think this could be used in both of those examples. So I'll just click on that really quickly. It's an interactive that talks about how pollution over time created natural selection in moths to go from a light color to a peppery color in order to be able to blend in so that they would not be preyed upon. Again, an excellent content by SERP, and all the students need to do is simply move through the next, and they'll see as time unfolds how those moths' appearance, those outward appearance, change over time. Now that you've had an opportunity to look through some curated content in that list I've shared with you, I also want you to notice that we have a ton of different kinds of resources available. So we don't just have videos, we don't just have text or interactives and simulations, we also have case studies, we have narratives, we have question sets, and some of these things are also tools that you can use to create your own learning experiences. So right now, what I'd love to do is spend some time looking at a collection of interactive content and resources by showing you how to use our search and filter tools. Because what's a 20,000+ amazing library if you can't search it and find what you're looking for? So let's dive in and do a tour. So we're going to start at the library. And again, I will copy and paste that link. So if you want to follow along, explore, experiment, please feel free. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to search a very popular Earth Day topic. Very simply, I'm going to come up here to my search bar and I'm going to click climate change. It's a popular topic, obviously, because there's a lot of controversy around it, but it is something that we need to teach in our classroom, whether or not you want to go the controversy route and have a debate and a discussion using evidence and artifacts to support that line of evidence, or maybe you just want to talk about how climate change is observed and measured as a part of teaching students about using data and becoming data literate. So here, what I've done is typed in climate change as my key source, my keyword. And immediately, I'm already noticing highlighted all of these content pieces that have the word climate change as part of the title or perhaps part of the description. I have textbooks, pathways. I've got an image. The sky's the limit on different kinds of content and how you can use that content in your classroom. I happen to love just simple videos like what is climate change when I'm introducing a concept. Or maybe I want my students to start with something that is, an inquiry, maybe a simulation about climate change from the Concord Consortium. And as you can see here, it's as simple as some data around different kinds of variables like temperature change and greenhouse gases. What a great way for students to start to think about the concept of climate change by experimentation. It's through that inquiry and experimentation that they begin to ask questions. And through asking questions, they want to solve a problem. At Lab Exchange, we call that problematization. And I know that's a term that's often associated with the next generation science standards. And basically the idea is to hook and engage learners through problem-solving activities. This kind of interactive would be a great way to spark students' curiosity. Now, let me show you some different ways that you can search the library. Instead of using a keyword search, you could use the filter on the side. Some things that I often like to do is start by my subject area. And if I press this little plus button here, you can see that we have a ton of subject areas, and within those are further broken down. So perhaps I want to select for ecology. And as you can see, it's showing me that there are 2,000 assets in our library with ecology. We've got a great pathway in here that happens to be all about ecology. And it is part of a bigger curriculum piece, which is called a cluster. So here is the example of a pathway, and a pathway is a sequence of content that allows students to go through at their own pace, and they go through that learning from one asset or one content piece to another content piece. So as you can see here, this particular pathway is starting with vocabulary. It moves into a video introducing the term ecology, and then some text to broaden their understanding of the role of cycles within that ecological framework. It goes into further explore things like greenhouse gases through, again, a simulation, as well as some videos and more videos, and then finally ending in some review questions in order to gauge whether or not a student has mastered that particular learning. So that's just another way that you can search for content on Lab Exchange. But I feel like I'm still going to show you just one more way. So let's go back to the library And this time, perhaps I don't necessarily want to filter by subject area. Perhaps I want to filter by content type. So I might be looking for something that's interactive and engaging. And so I only want to look through the interactives. So here I can click on interactive. And if I want, I can actually go back and also click on simulation. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I think I'm also going to click on case study, because I love to hook students with a case study to get them thinking. Again, that's that problematization model. So now you can see I have 1,213 results, but they're coming up as gel electrophoresis, which I must admit is an incredible simulation created by LabXchange. But if I want to, I can now go in and customize a little bit more. I know another great topic to talk about, unfortunately, it's a challenge-based topic, is pollution. So now, as you can see, I'm using the keyword pollution, but now I'm only searching interactives, case studies, and simulations. And look at this. The first thing that comes up is one of my favorite simulations to use in class. It's an air pollution simulation. And I absolutely love this simulation from the Concord Consortium because students can very easily understand how some of the variables like cars and car pollution, power plants and power plant pollution impact air quality in a particular region. A little later on, we'll walk through this, but I just wanted to point that this was an excellent simulation that students can, go through. They can create a table, they can create a map, and they have all of these different plugins to make it, a really authentic experience where they're doing the science. And if you're going to talk about student engagement, what better way to do the science? So lastly, I did want to share with you that when you do find content that you are absolutely in love with, you want to use it tomorrow, it's something that you're really excited about, it's really easy to share it and to save it to your personal dashboard. And both of these things are available. So for instance, with the share, it's just simply sharing up here. You can share it to Facebook, you could tweet it, you could pin it to your Pinterest if that's how you organize your content. If your LMS is a Google Classroom, you could share it directly to a Google Classroom. So as you can see, I had a Google Classroom set up here, and I could simply share that with just one click, or even most easily is just to copy the link and share that via email. However you share that, you can post it in your LMS, Canvas, Schoology, whatever you're using. And it's just so simple to share. That you do not need an educator account for. What you do need an educator account for is to favorite something. And really favoriting is just selecting this, clicking on it, and you can see that it's added to my favorites. And later on, when I show you some of the customization tools, I'm going to show you how that favorite appears in your dashboard. When you're in the library, it's really easy to favorite things. You just simply, as you're scrolling through, let's say you're just kind of doing a scan and search, and you see something that you want to go back to a little bit later, but maybe you don't have a lot of time, just simply click on the star in the upper left-hand corner. And as you can see now, it's shaded, and that is saved in my dashboard as well. So LabXchange, very easy to use dashboard. The filtering, I think, is pretty seamless. And I think a couple of those tricks and tools that I showed you today will help you to have a much better experience finding resources in a library as extensive as ours. As a matter of fact, I do believe I want to show you one last sneaky trick. So this is a sneaky trick that I use quite often, and I can't believe I almost forgot that. So when you do find something, let's see your this one here, and you like this content and you're looking for more content. One of the ways that I sometimes like to further explore is by using these tags down at the bottom. Sometimes these tags are even more specific, and they can help you to find other things on LabXchange that you can't necessarily find through the keyword search or the filter search. Oh, and I can't forget, there's also suggested content. This usually appears in almost every asset or content type. Once you click into it to learn more about it, at the bottom, you'll always get more suggestions or more suggestions from that particular source. So in this case, the source is LabXchange. And if you were to click on this, you would find more LabXchange content. So there's so many ways to find content on LabXchange. It's just figuring out how much time you have dedicated to searching for that content. And my hope today is that through the teaching guide I shared earlier with the concepts and important information about ecology, that will save you time. And some of the pre-developed pathways and teaching guides that I'm going to share with you next. So we're on to objective number 2, and that's how can we use LabXchange to engage our learners? I like to think that the first section was really about supporting you as an educator. How can we create dynamic, or how can we provide dynamic content that can help you to teach an engaging and interesting lesson, right? So finding videos that can create that hook to engage learners, maybe using simulations to demonstrate a topic that you're teaching for the first time. But now let's talk about it from the perspective, the lens of the learner, and how do we engage them? Well, when it comes to Earth Day, I think the most important thing that we need to do is to speak to their heart. We need to engage them in a way that they are going to recognize the importance, not only in their educational goals, but in their personal life. And I'm sorry, but the Earth and the care of our planet, in my mind, is one of the most essential things that our learners need to appreciate and be a part of the solution-making process, because this is the Earth that we are giving to them, right, as these young learners. So I think as educators, we have a great responsibility to teach our learners the skills and knowledge that will enable them to not, like I said earlier, not only be successful in school and career, but beyond. As a science educator myself, I always felt this heavy weight of the impact that I had on my students for becoming aware of, for becoming empathetic for, and for becoming passionate about our planet. Earlier, I spoke a little bit about our content collaborators and the role that they play in helping us to create an extensive and credible library of science resources. The United Nations is one of our strategic allies in that collaborator model. They have been helping us to shape our vision, not only of equitable access to science education, but also the importance of empowering learners to see themselves as scientists and to see themselves as problem solvers and innovators that will be the change makers of tomorrow. Right now, I'm showing you the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or for short, we call them the SDGs. And we have some partnered organizations that are doing incredible work around these global goals about our role in our global community. And they have been doing, these collaborators, they have been doing work to not only build awareness, but to promote and support educators so that we can start to see this SDG work in the classroom. I think that, this is something that is incredibly powerful content. When you look through here and you think about our Earth, every single one of these topics is essential for learners to know about and to be able and want to do something about them. If we're talking about Earth Day every day, obviously number 6 comes to mind: clean water and sanitation. We can talk about 11, sustainable cities and communities. Number 13, climate action. Every single one of these has something to do about our Earth and how learners can be change makers in these global development goals. So I want to show you 2 of our collaborators that are doing incredible work around this. The first one is our SGD community, and I will post that in the chat so you can follow along. So this is SGD Academy. And what they have done here, they have 38 content sources, and their whole pledge is to create and curate relevant, diverse content on the SDGs, make sure that it is available to a global audience, and to help them to achieve this kind of learning and development in the classroom. So as I scroll through here, you'll see that they've created pathways, and they've also created a whole bunch of fantastic videos for talking about these SDGs and some of the skills that students need to know in order to observe and then innovate in how to solve some of these challenges. I think one of my favorite pathways has got to be the climate change projections pathway. And as it says here, this pathway explains and demonstrates the use of climate models to predict the changes in various climatic patterns. So again, it's not necessarily saying that we have a climate crisis. What it's doing is it's presenting information to our learners about climate change, allowing them to come up with their own ideas around climate. Here you can see that they talk a little bit about atmospheric and oceanic circulation, the sea level rise, and every single one of these videos is absolutely captivating. I promise you that your learners will be excited, engaged, and want to know more. Another group that I think is doing some incredible work is the Biomimicry Institute. And what they have been doing is providing these youth design challenges. So if you're looking for opportunities to use Earth Day as a springboard for challenge activities and engagement in your classroom, this is a perfect place to go. And I will copy and paste that in the chat if you want to follow along as well. I absolutely love some of the case studies that are student developed, and they are collecting the work that these students have done. And then at the end, my favorite part is that they introduce the team. So here you can see that this is a student-driven case study. So this is their work. They've done a project overview. They've explained what they are looking into, provided examples of their thinking and their strategy. They've created some information to teach about this issue, which happens to be about Colorado soil. And then they engage with some experts to learn even more and their efforts towards ecological conservation. And then lastly, they design, they have an official design that helps to solve this challenge. And again, this is all student-based work, and it's been captured in a case study. There's the project image, the reflection, and a picture of the team. where they're from. So they're high school students ranging 9 to 11 from Watershed High School. What a great opportunity in your classroom. And a little bit later on, when we go into some creation and authoring tools, I will show you how to do a case study so you can replicate this kind of work in your classroom with your learners. When LabXchange sources its content, we place a very high value on interactive content. We think that interactive content is the most engaging content. And so what I want to share with you now are a couple of examples of some interactives that I've used in my class. I've already showed you the pollution interactive. But there are so many more interactives around pollution. They include data visualizations, which again are an incredible way to help students to use models in order to explain a concept or a phenomena. I think that these are some really great examples. Factors that could affect air quality was one that I referenced earlier. And again, just how simple it is for students to be able to toggle through these different variables and then see how those variables impact air pollution. Right here, what I'm doing is just showing you how simple. So I've taken away all the variables except for cars and car pollution. And when I press start, you can start to see all the pollution and the graph increasing. But if I start to increase electric cars, which reduce emissions, I can also now observe the impact of that graph. And as you can see, now it's starting to go down. So again, what a simple interactive to engage your learners. There you go. You can see the primary pollutants decreasing. Another example that I think is tremendous is by Our World in Data. I've talked about this several times. When we talk about Earth Day, I think a lot of the challenges that we face can be explained. They can be demonstrated. Those lines of evidence can be shared through interactive data modeling and analysis. I often refer to that as data literacy, and what a great skill. I've included a link to a whole bunch of curated content, 104 different content from Our World in Data that goes through every type of climate related, global warming related, earth related data that students can manipulate and move through the interactives to learn more about cause and effect relationships in data. Another one that I think is incredibly interesting that you might want to study when you're talking about Earth Day, another challenge, could be extinction. So here are a few interactives and simulations. John Darko, he does some excellent work. I would definitely say at the upper, higher level, high school and college level. But why not just a really simple, interesting simulation that includes a map, an interactive map, where students can learn more about endangered species. Like for instance, I didn't realize that there were 90 threatened species in Brazil. So, you know, that's a very interesting kind of piece. And again, just exploring, getting a good understanding of, you know, geolocation and extinction risk, I think is a really great skill for learners. And this is a really interesting thing that as an adult, I find engaging and obviously learning something new. I'm from the United States. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and I would never have thought that we have 41 threatened species in the United States. So again, that's something that I have questions about, and I want to inquire more and see if there's something that I can do to support this, my planet, and these species. So again, another fantastic resource. If we're talking about pathways, which are lesson plans or lesson, you know, paths, like they're scaffolded sequential, I wanted to share with you this climate. Oh, I already shared that with you. I wanted to share with you, I'm sorry, the climate science champions. So instead of, information that you are having students consume, why not go in with a different entry point and talk to them about these incredible people, these climate science champions like oceanographers, fish ecologists, wildlife biologists, and their role in the field and what they're observing and collecting as data, and how their path through education got them into this action, call to action role that's making a difference when we talk about climate science. Again, this is a great resource. I think if I were doing Earth Day every day for the month of April, I probably would have one of these videos. They're 2 minutes, maybe at the beginning of class every Wednesday or every other day, as a great engagement piece, a do now and exploratory career connection piece. And one last piece, I wanted to share this pathway. This is from an organization called Action for Climate Emergency. And I just really thought that their videos were very engaging. And this is, for me, I feel like this is a really great way to give that call to action that speaks to learners. The videos are very short. You can see that the animations are engaging, and the speakers are very thoughtfully spoken, and they're learners, right? They look like young adults, high schoolers perhaps, and they're speaking to them with this call to action kind of a voice. So again, I think that this is an incredible pathway. I definitely might use some of those pieces in my classroom, but maybe not all of them. So that is a perfect segue to the final piece of our content tour. And that is how you can use our custom and creation tools. If you can see here in the picture, I've got a whole bunch of content that you can create yourself. So LabXchange has a great dashboard, and I'll show you that quickly. You can put all your favorites in that dashboard. So as you can see here, I have a ton of ecology-based favorites in here. But if you can't find something on LabXchange, it's really easy to add your own content. And it's as simple as pressing the plus button. And these are all the different personalized content that you can create for your learners, and they would be private content. You can create a question set or just one question. There's multiple choice, short answer. A question set could be, a small quiz or a test even, I guess. You can add a personal audio, your personal podcast, a podcast from someplace that you use in class regularly, but you haven't found it yet in our library. Remember those case studies I was telling you about? Here it is right here. And I just clicked on this one to show you that each one of those content types that you can create comes with its very own template. And the reason for this is to make it really easy on you, right? If you're going to create content, having to do HTML and format all of your own pages, that's the part that I think is you just taking all the time away. In using these templates, it's just so easy to create a really thoughtful, a really thorough, high quality content piece that you can share really easily with your students. So I'm just going to show you a couple things. This is just a test, obviously. If I were going to start out with a summary, I can add a text box and look at all these features for dynamic text, text box. But if I also wanted to add some rich media, look at how easy this is. I can add rich media as in content from our library. I can add my own content. I can add my favorites. The sky's the limits. And it's as simple as adding a plus. And now that's directly embedded in my case study. And as I go through, I just open the boxes and keep on adding text or rich media until I get down to the references and citations. Once I'm finished, I want to agree to the terms and services, and I can add tags and image and save the case study. And that's it. I've created my very own case study. The tools that we have here are seamless, they're intuitive. If I want to share it, all I need to do is copy the link at the top of the page. And now I can share that with other teachers, with other students, and it's really very, very easy. Now, let's say you don't want to create something from scratch. So a perfect example of that might be a pathway. So what's really cool about pathways, so let me just come in here and find one, is I'm going to type in pollution. So let's say today, after you left, you say, I want to have a pathway. I want it to talk about pollution, what's out there. And you type in pollution, you've got pathway, and you find this particular pathway here. And as you're going through it, you're like, oof, I like that resource, this resource. You know what? Secondary air pollutants, a little too much for me. I really am not sure that I want my students to learn that. All you need to do here is click on clone. And now you have this pathway that you can edit and customize to meet your needs. This to me is a perfect medium between completely created for you content and content that you tweak to make sure that it meets the needs of your learners and your educational objectives. So as you can see, all I have to do now is go through and decide which ones I don't want to use. So maybe I don't want to do secondary air pollutants. I remove it. Well, maybe not though. I do have a couple of kiddos in my class that might want that as an extension. So maybe instead, I look it over and I decide, no, that's a little bit too much. And so I end up removing it. And it's as simple as that. Maybe I want to talk about smog first and I want to move those around. All I do is simply click on it over here till I get the little hand, and I can even change the order. If I wanted to, I can even go down to the end of the pathway and add my very own content. So maybe I want to add a worksheet. Maybe I want to add a narrative, a video. Maybe I already have some content that I've uploaded and I want to add that there as well. Let's see here. This is a document I've created before. Again, simple, add one item. Maybe I come down here and think, oof, wasn't there that question set that I had that I wanted to use? Looking for it again, maybe another document. Maybe this time it's a worksheet that I have students fill out. And again, here's a question I created, and I want to add all three of those items. And all I have to do is just drag them into place. Simple, easy, seamless, a ton of content that we have in our content tour. And I hope that you found something today that is worthwhile. I hope you found something today that you can use in your class every day. But mostly, I hope you find something in class today that inspired you to be passionate about Earth Day, because it's your passion at the end of the day that creates energy and excitement and passion in learners, right? When we love what we do, it shows in every way possible. And student engagement is an outcome of that. And so we have to remember as educators, it is so important that we share this knowledge and these opportunities and the passion that we have for our planet, because I promise you, they will walk that same path. And with that, I hope you've enjoyed our session. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Enjoy Earth Day. And again, I think Earth Day should be every day. My name is Jenny Frank. I'm from Lab Exchange, and I hope you've enjoyed. Have a great day.